This evening, I planned to go to bed early to avoid working on my role. But before I knew it, I was standing in front of the mirror, delivering my lines with as much conviction as I could. The thought of performance filled me with dread. My mind kept returning to the struggle of embodying Othello authentically. Every time I rehearsed, I stumbled over the words. They didn't help me. They felt foreign. It felt repetitive and meaningless. Today was our first rehearsal. I arrived early, anxious to plan the scenes. Fortunately, Paul agreed to everything I proposed, since he was only interested in the inner aspects of Iago. For me, the external details were all that mattered. Despite my efforts, I couldn't convince myself that I was truly in Othello's world. My attempts to recreate my room only distracted me and hindered my acting. Paul already knew his role by heart, but I was still clinging to the script, and my voice sounded strange to my ears. I struggled to align my actions with the text. Worse than that, my gestures and expressions clashed with Paul's natural performance. My attempts to create a convincing Othello seemed absurd and out of place. At home, my frustration only grew. I kept repeating the same scenes and methods without discovering anything new. My imagination felt dried up and my once swift progress had halted. But a small change in my routine, moving to a different part of the room and speaking softly, transformed my mood. I realized the importance of changing the practice area to avoid the familiar. At today's rehearsal, I began improvising. I sat on a chair, playing without gestures or exaggerated expressions. Surprisingly, this restraint brought a new depth to my performance. The day of the performance arrived. I felt indifferent until I reached my dressing room, where my heart began to pound with nerves. On stage, the bright lights blinded me initially, creating a curtain of light between me and the audience. As my eyes adjusted, the fear of performing before the public gripped me. I felt empty, my efforts unnatural and fruitless. During the performance, I reached a breaking point. In my helplessness, I was seized with rage and flung out the line, "Blood, Iago, blood!" In that moment, I felt the full weight of Othello's betrayal and pain. The audience seemed to lean in, and a murmur ran through them. This sudden approval filled me with energy. I can't remember how I finished the scene, but the fear disappeared, and I was free. Paul, initially surprised by my change, was soon swept up in it, and we acted with abandon. The curtain fell to applause, and I felt a newfound confidence. Afterwards, with the airs of a visiting star, I went into the audience, hoping the director would notice and commend me. The next scene began, and Maria's entrance stunned me. She flew down the stairs, fell, and cried out, "Oh, help me," with such chilling intensity that it struck me to the core. Her raw emotion in that single moment reminded me of the power of genuine feeling in performance. The director seemed electrified by her brief but impactful entrance, much like the moment I had with Blood, Iago, blood.